It is offensive, the amount of wonderful content that Colman Domingo puts out into the world, because this man is so talented. When you talk about stage, when you talk about film acting, when you talk about television acting, he has done it all. And we could talk obviously about the movie that's now on Netflix, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, in which he received a Spirit Award nomination. You could talk about Euphoria. You could talk about Fear the Walking Dead. But I want to start my conversation with Colman Domingo talking about something that is very close to my heart, which is his impersonation of Maya Angelou on the Big Gay Sketch Show
Oh, fuck.
from roughly 10 years ago. Now, I bring this up because I appreciate that Colman Domingo is somebody who is very forthright about his identity, is very vocal about who he is, and is somebody who is also Latino. Colman is Afro-Latino, but somebody who is a queer person of color. I love seeing people just do what they're so good at doing. And that's obviously what we're going to talk about over the next 25 minutes or so. So I'm excited to welcome Colman to the program to talk about his projects, to talk about what life has been like in quarantine over the past few months, and just about the beauty of being who we are today. So Colman, thank you so much for joining me today.
So glad to be here, Jorge. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I love your reaction to my bringing up Maya Angelou, because you know that a lot of people have such a wonderful place in their heart for that character and what you did on that show.
You know what's so funny to me? Because I think because my whole career has been, I feel like I have 20 careers. And so I almost forgot, because like, I'm always looking ahead and doing the things in front of me. So there's my life as a circus performer, or doing, sketch comedy, or doing Shakespeare, or doing musicals, you name it. So when something comes up, it's like I almost forgot about it. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm like, wait a minute, that was a whole lifetime ago when I was doing sketch comedy with Kate McKinnon, and it was great.
The thing that I love about not only that show, but the trajectory of your career is you've never once hidden who you are. But I love that there's never been a definition of your career based off of what that is, because the work that you're doing now is extraordinary. And so do you take time to sort of have those moments of reflection where you think, God damn, like I am doing something so amazing right now?
You know what? I think I'm having a moment right now thinking about that, because it seems as if there's a lot of attention on my work and all these different mediums. But it took me, actually, to be very honest, Jorge, like maybe a couple years ago, I was at UT Austin. I was doing a lecture, and a student said, Mr. Domingo, do you realize that you're doing something that hasn't been done? And I didn't understand what he meant. And I think he meant about my representation, working in all these mediums, being open about who I am, but that hasn't been limiting or defining all that I do. And I didn't recognize that. He says, no, there's no one like you. And I said, oh, okay. And then but then I had to think about it, because again, I'm constantly just working and moving forward and I'm usually doing 5 to 7 things at one time. And so I had to take stock of it and look at the journey. And I think I'm doing more of that now, because I recognize it. I guess you only recognize it as a journey when you look back at 30 years and you're like, and someone brings up, Big Gay Sketch Show and Maya Angelou, and you're like, oh, that was a lifetime ago. And so, but it's always been very important to me to just keep, I challenge myself a lot with my work and what I'm doing. I think if I've done a version of it before, I'm not interested. So that's why I'm constantly moving forward and doing different things, because I think it keeps me feeling like I just started. Like I always feel like I just started in this business. I don't ever want to feel like I've got this. Once I feel like I think I've got this, I should probably leave. But I like to be challenged, and because I think there's that level of feeling like I just might fail. That kind of feels good. It's kind of like a rush in a way. Like, I don't know, will they fire me? I thought that with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I thought that after a week of rehearsal, I think George might fire me.
Really?
Yes, because I think that maybe I innately have a slight insecurity. You always feel like there's maybe an imposter syndrome or something, even if you're bringing your wealth of experience with you. But because I have such a high level of what I believe I want my work to be, and I'm trying to reach for that, I always feel like if there's a slippery slope where I might just fail. And I don't know, maybe that's what keeps me going and keeps me creating and trying to find and redefine who I am in this world. I don't know, it feels human.
Would you say those were some of the early lessons you had in the Domingo household? This idea of like putting your best efforts, working incredibly hard. Because I mean, I know it's something that I grew up with in a Latino household. This idea of that, like, we're very lucky, we're very blessed to be able to do what we do, and circumstances that might be out of our control might take that away, and so we have to just be kind of on edge.
I,
And that's not in a bad way, but like we just there's the feeling of gratitude, like the gratitude of what we get a chance to do, because
yeah.
so many things might come and
Well,
take it away.
I think you're right. I think, well, I grew up in a household with my very African American mother and my Central American dad. And my dad was they're both very hardworking individuals and come from, it just feels like the world is set up against them. My dad and his very thick, you know, British Honduras, which is now Belize accent, was just like he had many things to overcome, but I saw them, they didn't let that get in their way. And so I did learn from them to just say, don't let anything get in your way. And I think maybe that's, like you're saying, you're getting back to the conversation of like, I've never let anything, by being Black, being Afro-Latino, being gay, get in my way. Being skinny, 6'2", back when I had pimply skin, you name it. I didn't let any of that stuff get in the way of what I believed that I was meant to do. I knew that was there's just a hurdle in a way. And I think even some of my comrades, we talk about even my whole career, that I've never just gone through or been invited to come in front doors. I think that's just probably like, my people as well. I will get in the door though. If there's a side door, a back door, a crack in the wall, in the ceiling, under the floorboards,
Like
watch out.
squeezing through,
Yeah,
I'm getting in.
because watch out, I'm coming. Because the world is not set up for us to win. But but I think I have a foundation in my family that have made me believe in myself. That I think there's some self-possession in that, and it's simple. Because I think I grew up very, I wouldn't say poor, but very working class. Everything I had, if I went to college, I got grants and things like that. All that stuff. So I didn't have a silver spoon, but I knew that I could do anything. My parents always told me, there's nothing you can't have in this world, and believe
Mhm.
that. You know.
Something that might also feel like a lifetime ago, if I read this correctly, you and I share the fact that we have journalism backgrounds.
Yes, we do.
Would you say that having that background, this innate sense of wanting to tell stories, wanting to seek out stories, that kind of led you to the arts and being a performer and finding out more about these roles in ways that maybe others wouldn't be tasked to do?
Yes, I think it's funny. When I was a journalism student at Temple University, my news writing teacher would always tell me I was too florid in my writing. And I was always confused by that. I was like, well, I want to tell the story. She says, just get the facts. The news is the news. Well, we know now news is more opinion now, but the news is the news. And then, but I had always had a creative edge to my writing and the way I wanted to tell story. And then when I took an acting class as an elective, I, I, I was so thrown into this whole other world of telling stories. And then it took me many years later when I did my solo show, A Boy and His Soul. And so a woman who's now friends of mine, Candace Allen, she says, you know what you are? You're an archivist. And I said, hmm. She said, that's what you are as a storyteller, as an actor, writer, director, producer. You're an archivist. He said, you're also, she said, you have a journalistic soul. I said, I wanted to be a journalist. And she said, well, that's what you're doing. She said, you're documenting our time on this planet and everything that you do and the characters that you explore and all that. She said, so you are doing the work of a journalist. You just found a different way. And I thought, wow, that feels so good. So I do believe that we are doing the same thing. We're still doing that thing where that spark, where I thought I wanted to go to war-torn places, and I've always experimented with photography, and I always did. And my photography was always portrait photography. I wanted to look in the eyes of someone else and find out their story. That's being a journalist. That's
Mm-hmm.
being an artist.
I love that, this idea of like identifying as an archivist and using your body as the vessel in which to continue these stories going on and on and on.